Hi, this is Glenda. I have been playing with embossing on transparency, so I thought I'd quickly run through that. There's nothing special about it. I'm going to run through it anyway. Okay, one of the hardest things is finding your transparency sheet on whatever you're stamping on. It needs to be the type of transparency that will go through a photocopier or a laser printer, because you want it to be able to take the heat. So don't use the ones for your inkjet printer. Even this one, as I was experimenting with another sheet I'll show you in a sec, it did start to warp if I held the heat gun on it for too long. So although lasers get up to, I don't know, something over 1,000 degrees, obviously concentrated heat gun can do more. So you want, well, you can stamp whatever you like. All the ones I've done, I've stamped and fussy cut out afterwards, except with this you don't have to be as fussy, because the edge is clear, you have a bit of freedom. So definitely use an anti-static on it. I'm doing more than need be because it's clear and I keep stamping in strange places. So just any clear embossing ink. Ink it up well. Then you want to press firmly but not too hard. Because it's transparency, it can slip, the same as any other acetate. So just sort of gently do it, because if you press firmly you're going to end up with a wider stamping and your pattern won't look as intricate. So gentle is better in this case. Got some gold embossing powder and I tried several different sorts, which I'll show you in a sec too. Tap it off, make sure you haven't missed any bits. This particular stamp is supposed to be a bit distressed, I think, and it's not as delicate as some of them, but it's a bit bigger for you to see. Always put the lid on before you turn on the heat gun. Get rid of the mat that might melt. And just heat it as you would any other embossing. So many people say, I never tire of seeing the embossing powder change. It is just very cool. And that's it. Like I said, there's nothing to it. And then on all of them I coloured the underside, because it's going to have to be something permanent, so you will ruin your embossing if you try and colour it on the top side. So various things. This one, this is one of the cameos that turned out not at all well. It wasn't great at all, but I've put a bit of rub and buff on it. This is from the fantasy film one, for anybody who hasn't watched anything else. And you can just get glimpses of the lovely fantasy sparkle. So anyway, that's an aside. So I've tried a couple with gold. I tried one of the clearer Lindy's, and I didn't like the result of that. I did turn it into a card, but another gold. That was one of the darker Lindy's ones with the mica powder in, and I thought that was gorgeous. Although I've had a couple of little bits chip off, so I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem, but I really like that one. It's just got some glimmer to the actual embossing. This was another dark embossing powder, another Lindy's I think, and so was that. So then the colouring. I have done some test things. I thought I was simply going to get my Copic markers or other alcohol markers and colour the back, and that would be fine. But I'll explain some of what happened in a sec. After I did these, I went back and did a colour, or just a test to see what different things would do. And I found some watercolour pastels that I didn't know I even had. So the H2Os gave quite a good result, but relatively pale. If I can find, I think that was one I did with the H2Os. I'd so lost track after a while. Yeah, and the Lumiere paint gave the most vivid of what I did, which was that one. It's not quite as transparent, and with all of these, of course, that's the front. You're going to see that side, so it does pale a little bit more. Funnily, the test samples are so much more vivid than my actual projects. But that was the Lumiere paint, and I'm pretty sure this was the Lumiere. Or was it the H2Os? I'm sorry. Anyway, actually I think it was the H2Os. Yeah, and that was two, and this was the only Lumiere one. The Copics, that was a Copic one, and one of the butterflies. I think that was the alcohol ink, and I mean this is really vivid where I've just blobbed it on, but once I blended it a bit, it just has all got quite pale. This Pinata I think is for doing on parchment, and I only have a couple of colours, so I hadn't even thought of using that, but that it's fairly opaque, and if you want the translucent effect, you know, it's not really doing it. So then the markers, that was the Copic, and that was one of the darker purples I had, and it's fairly wishy-washy. Markline and Sharpie are similar products, and you can see it's very streaky. That was a big pastel, and it's fairly true to what the colour is supposed to be. These Micador Metallics I hadn't thought of using, but they've come up quite vividly. But again, it's not very translucent. Well, it's not translucent at all. And that was the Spiker pen. I think it's Atju Spiker or something. So, and Lumiere's, these, I got these the first time the other day. It's Lumiere by Jacquard, which I've noticed Fiona Jennings uses quite a bit. So I guess H2Os, my H2O one, I wasn't very patient waiting for my paint to be ready. You know how you have to wet it before you use it. These ones I waited longer, and the colour's much more vivid, so I'm guessing that's the ideal way to go unless you want something really dark. But the alcohol ink, because it was so unpredictable, I wasn't that keen on how it came out. So I think I've covered everything I meant to there. Stand up and give you a close-up of these. This has the Lindy's embossing on it, which is looking quite good, except this mica powder that you just cannot get off. It's a feature, I guess, but yeah, as I say, I really like that one. Probably like the gold and the see, this is, I think I've pressed it harder, and you can see how it's much thicker, whereas this one I've been a bit more gentle, and you get more detail. And this one I think I've pressed a little bit lighter, and it's better than that, which is the same stamp. Yeah, love this sparkle. Yeah, he's not so good. The Lumiere, pretty good, and alcohol ink's not so good. So, sorry, I've waffled a bit more than usual, and have fun if you're transparency emboss.